This is problem 7-54 from section 7.1.4, part 1 homework. It says find the coordinates of points P and Q on the unit circle below. Now if you look at the last video, or looking at the last question in the homework, it says find the exact coordinates. In this case, it does not say that, so we are allowed to round, to have decimals in our answers, to take the square root of things if necessary, so it does not say exact, so that's something good to kind of take note in the directions as we move through this chapter, if it asks for exact coordinates or not. So let's just focus on point P at first. So again, from the previous problem and also from the other day, we know the coordinates are going to be cosine of theta and then sine of theta are our coordinates. So in this case, we were given the degree. Now we just actually need to find the cosine and sine. So we could actually leave our answer just as cosine of our angle, which is 50. That is going to be the x-coordinate. And then we could say sine of 50. Now, that doesn't really help us. Say you had to plot this point, or if you were given somebody this coordinate, and they might not really know what that is, or if we wanted you to say in decimals, so we should be able to change this simply on our calculator and making sure that we are in degrees here. Okay, we're going to get to soon knowing, soon we're going to get to talk about radians, but we're not there yet, so we're still in degrees until we tell you to change it. Okay, so cosine of 50 degrees, which is the horizontal distance. So if I go in here and I draw with my height in here, okay, so my cosine, the horizontal distance is right here. So from the center out, it was 0.64 about, round it to that. And if I go and type in the sine of 50 degrees, I'm going to have about 0.77, let's say. So we go back in here, I'm just going to label that. This is 0.77. So my sine is the vertical distance, the distance that they would have to climb down in the screamer if it stopped, and my cosine is my horizontal distance. So that is for point P. Both of these answers are acceptable, but we might just want to get in the habit, instead of just saying cosine and sine, go a little bit further and get the decimal version. If it doesn't say find the exact coordinates, just find the coordinates. So I'm going to go to the next page to find Q. We're going to do very similar. So Q, the only thing different with Q is I have all of this is 110 degrees. So here is really stuff. Now we talked about reference angles the other day in class. The reference angle for this, which would be kind of this part, I would take 180 minus 110, so that would really be 70. So you can really do both things. You should be able to take the cosine of 110. If we type that in, let's see what that is. Cosine 110. Oops, not 111, 110. The answer. So negative 0.34, which is, again, which we need to talk about the direction. So since it's negative, that means it's to the left of the center, which would make sense. So if I draw down my line here, it's just this little part right here. That would be the cosine of 110 degrees. So they're saying it's negative 0.34. Now let's take the sine of this using the 110 again. And then we're going to do it using the reference angle and see if we get something different. So now we're going to find the height. So this should be pretty tall. It should be close to 1. So sine of 110 equals 0.94. So it's pretty close to 1. So that's good. That's what we wanted. So 0.94 because it's almost straight up and down. So this could be one of my answers. Now let's try it using the reference angle and see if we get the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to take cosine of 70. Okay. Now what's going to happen here is it's going to think that I'm in this first quadrant. It's going to think I'm about here. So you could take the cosine of 70 and just have to think about which direction am I really going to be in terms of the center. So if I take cosine of 70, I'm thinking it's going to give me a positive answer. Positive 0.34. So again, I just need to think about this. If I'm asking you for in the reference angle sense, I know it's going to be negative direction, okay? So since I'm to the left of the circle, although I'm using the reference angle of 70, really I'm to the left of center, so I need to have a negative value for my horizontal distance. My vertical distance is still going to be the same. It's still going to be 0.94 because it's above ground. Okay, so either way you think about it, if you use a reference angle, you just have to like think about your answer a little bit more, but it still gives you the same values. You just need to think, is it positive or negative, above ground, below ground, left or right of center. Okay, so to find the coordinates of a point, I'm going to take cosine of the angle and then sine of the angle.